Hi guys, DevilHunterXYZ, and today I'm going to do a movie review on Jurassic World. I finally saw it today on Father's Day with my dad and the rest of the family, and we actually saw it 3D nonetheless. And overall, the movie was pretty good actually. I mean, comparing it to the rest of the series, I would almost say it's as good as the original. But let's take a closer look. Well, for the plot of this movie, it's a little bit on the long side, but it takes place 22 years after the initial events of Jurassic Park, and with that, there's a newly established park, Jurassic World, which is kind of like a modified version, fully expanded. But anyway, the movie kind of focuses on these two young brothers, Zach and Ray, who are visiting their Aunt Claire, who is the operations manager at the park. And well, they were supposed to be spending a good day with their aunt. Unfortunately, Zach and Gray are more or less spending the time with her assistant, while Claire is just working to make sure the park is stable. And I guess during the events, Claire and a top researcher slash trainer, Owen, are trying to inspect a new genetically altered dinosaur known as the Indominus Rex, which is kind of combining DNA of a dinosaur, the T Rex, along with modern animals to create something new and spectacular for the park to see. And unfortunately, when they were trying to inspect it, they had a hard time trying to find it. So they end up sending staff into the cage to try to find where it is. But in the end, it turns out it was like a whole trap set up by the Indominus Rex to escape out of the facility, and that's when the whole chaos starts to unfold. Well, with the Indominus Rex on the loose, Claire and the other staff of Jurassic World believe they can take care of the situation quickly without having to alarm the general public. So they send a couple of their men to neutralize the Indominus Rex to try to bring it back. But unfortunately, the Indominus Rex got the better of them because it also had camouflage capabilities, so it was able to sneak up on them and attack them. And unfortunately, I guess the Indominus Rex, since it never really had a taste of what the outside world was like, since it was growing up in captivity all this time, doesn't really know exactly what to do or where it is, so it starts just going through a rampage throughout the entire park, and eventually the staff and Clara decided they had to evacuate all the people in the park, at least down to the southern portion of the park. And with that, they also were trying to make sure that the public was not aware that there's a serious threat out. But at the same time, Claire also realizes that her nephews, Zach and Gray, are still out there somewhere. And since they couldn't get a response, eventually Claire and Owen actually traveled on their own into the northern section where the Indominus Rex is currently located. Well, at the time of this incident, the two boys, Zach and Gray, were in some gyrosphere ride trying to explore dinosaurs on the mainland, but they decided to deviate off the main path and do some self-exploring, which led them to find dinosaurs deep in the forest, but unfortunately the Indominus Rex was there too, trying to destroy the gyrosphere. Luckily though, the two boys did escape, and they had to survive by jumping off a waterfall to avoid the Indominus Rex. And I believe at the time, Claire and Owen did manage to find the missing gyrosphere, and I mean they were just a few minutes off, so they know that they're still alive and they're somewhere out there. Zach and Gray, though, they did manage to encounter the original park, the original Jurassic Park, and with that, they did manage to find one of the old Jeeps, and they were kind of working it to get it repaired, to get it running. And again, Claire and Owen, they managed to track their trail down to the original park as well, but unfortunately, they just missed him. And Zach and Gray managed to get the truck running, and they started driving back to the mainland, to the main park. Uh, and then while this is all happening, the head security, I believe his name was Vic Hoskins, he had this plan to use the Velociraptors, which were trained under Owen, to try to track down the Indominus Rex. And I mean, they had this whole plan going out. It seemed pretty crazy, but in the end, when Claire and Owen got back to the main park security, they had to go along with the plan and hope that it would work. Well, with the plan ready to go, Owen, along with some soldiers and the Velociraptors, all traveled down the path deep into the forest to try to track down the Indominus Rex. They eventually do catch up to it, but the Velociraptors and the Indominus Rex were communicating, and it's later found out that the Indominus Rex also has raptor DNA. So it was clearly trying to communicate to them and trying to get the rest of the raptors on his side. And with that, the entire team had to face not only the Indominus Rex, but the group of raptors. So pretty much the whole plan backfired. Most of them didn't survive, but luckily a couple of them and Owen managed to escape out of there. And with that, it kind of deviates off of that point, but later on, Owen and Claire and the two boys do manage to reunite, and they decide to head back to the lab of Jurassic World, where they find that Vic Hoskins his true goal was to try to create a genetically altered dinosaurs, like super dinosaurs, to I guess for some kind of future warfare type thing or whatever. But anyway, Hoskins is killed by one of the raptors, and in the end, I guess they were getting cornered by the rest of the raptors, and I don't know, for some reason one of the main raptors, Blue, he was able to kind of somewhat understand Owen, and he was able to try to calm him down and whatnot. So it was pretty interesting right there. Well, with the raptors on their side, the Indominus Rex catches up to the group, and then there's like a huge battle between the raptors and the Indominus Rex, but the raptors were getting easily overthrown, and then Claire decides to get the T-Rex from one of their habitats to try to fight the Indominus Rex. But even then, the Indominus Rex was still overpowering the T-Rex. But at the time, Blue, one of the raptors, Blue, manages to team up with the T-Rex to try to take down the Indominus Rex. And then it was just a big battle going on, almost like a Godzilla movie. In the end, though, they did manage to corner the Indominus Rex, but then, weirdly enough, the Indominus Rex gets eaten alive by one of the other dinosaurs, the Mosasaurus, from their pool exhibit. And in the end, though, the dinosaurs did manage to scatter apart. The general public gets safe, with medical staff all over. The two kids, Zach and Grave, get reunited with their parents, and Claire and Owen decide to stay together. Well, with the pros of the movie, I mean, there are a lot of them. I mean, for one thing, obviously the dinosaurs. I do like how they brought back some of the old classic dinosaurs, and I like how the whole CG has improved over the years, making the dinosaurs even more realistic, and actually even more so since I was using 3D glasses. Almost like it comes straight up to your face. I also like the action. There's a lot of chaos, havoc going around, and all the whole dinosaur fighting. I mean, it really is like a huge throwback to the original. And with that said, I would also say that the huge throwback to the original was a pretty nice touch too. I mean, going back almost 20 years from the original Jurassic Park, we get a small taste of how the whole Jurassic Park saga has lived up all these years. Well, when it comes to cons, there are a couple of them. One being the plot. Not that I didn't like the whole movie. It's just the whole plot itself seemed a little bit on the predictable side. It was more or less piggybacking off of the original Jurassic Park. How you have the whole park, a fantastic park with all the dinosaurs. Then something happens that causes havoc and chaos around the entire park, and then they have to kind of survive from the dinosaur attack. I mean, more or less, it was just like a modernized version of the original Jurassic Park, which, I mean, at times it just seems a little predictable and cliche. And another con for me personally, I think it was a little bit of some missed opportunities that throw in some cameos from like the original cast. It would have been nice to have like Alan Grant or Ian Malcolm, to kind of show up for like a small bit. I mean, it would have been pretty great to actually throw in some cameos, but that's kind of my opinion. overall, I'd say that Jurassic World was a huge success, considering it was considered one of the highest grossing movies this year. And I would say it's a pretty good touch for the Jurassic Park fans since it's been so long since the last Jurassic Park movie came out. I mean, 2 and 3 were okay at best, but they weren't really too great. Just I think they were just more focusing on dinosaurs then. But Jurassic World kind of goes back to its roots and just tries to further expand what the original movie had. And whether this is good in 3D or not, I would say for this case, 3D is a good touch. One of the few times I say 3D is good for a movie. And with that, I would give it a final score of a 8.5 out of 10. It's a pretty great movie, and honestly, I highly suggest seeing it. This is DevilHunterXYZ, and until next time.